Control room, we're with. Okay. Yeah, you won't have to go to video because this is getting good. You don't need to go to the pre-cut video yet because this is it's pretty exciting. Okay. Yeah, we've been over this thing for at least 20 minutes ourselves, and they've gone all over West Baltimore. They are now southbound on Reisterstown Road. As we watch this, I'm going to try to call out the roads as best I can. Now, you can see there's damage to the vehicle. Right now, 9 police cars at least following directly behind this car, and just about every intersection he comes to, there's at least one cop car waiting for him. They have not been able to stop him at all. He's gone through some fields, he's crossed over, gone the wrong way, he's gone through traffic lights. We've seen him come very close to hitting some other vehicles and hitting some people, some pedestrians. So you see parts of the car falling off. Now, when this car makes a turn, seems to lose a little bit of traction. So we're thinking that maybe the tires are either worn out or he may even have a tire that's about to blow. But he's continuing southbound on Reisterstown Road and coming up on the Mondawmin area. So got a busy intersection right ahead of him. He's probably going to move off to the right and go around this. Looks like there is an open lane, and that'll take us right down to Pennsylvania Avenue. And once he gets up Pennsylvania Avenue, we'll have to see where he's heading. But again, this suspect wanted for a shooting. Police are chasing this vehicle through West Baltimore. They've gone as far down as Franklin. Looks like they, we're going to hold on a second. Looks like we may have a stop here. We think there's another person in that vehicle. So there was 2 people in the vehicle. One was taken out. That person is in custody on the middle of the street on Pennsylvania Avenue. And it's actually Reisterstown Road at this point. Okay, what we've seen is a very long, very fast chase, and every part of West Baltimore is pretty much covered. They went up and down Monroe and Fulton, all the way down to Washington Boulevard at one point. So they were in southwest. Then they started working their way back up, and this is where it came to an end. They went started going north on Park Heights, got up a little bit, and turned around and came south on Reisterstown Road twice. And then eventually it got to this point where it appeared as though the vehicle just wasn't moving anymore on its own. So that's how the police were able to make this come to an end. They did pull the suspect out of the vehicle, and it looks like there were 2 suspects. I think they're both in custody now. And we saw him hit at least one car, and they came very close to hitting pedestrians and other vehicles as well. There was one situation where they were going through an intersection, and there was a flatbed truck that they almost hit, which would have been a pretty catastrophic collision. But they managed to miss that one, and breaking every traffic law you can imagine in this chase. So there's police everywhere right now here, right in front of Mondawmin. and this is on it's on Reisterstown Road, right at Gwynns Falls Parkway. Yeah, so I was talking to Foxtrot, and when we first came in, we were flying at about 1,500 feet. That's normally what we do when we're sharing airspace with Foxtrot. And they said we may have to climb, so I was able to get clearance for 2,000 feet. So we gave them plenty of separation, so they were able to climb as needed and move around without worrying where we are. We're the only other helicopter that's on this chase right now, so that makes it a lot easier. It's a little tricky when you get a couple other helicopters out here, but we work with Foxtrot all the time. We know them, and we're able to coordinate, and it's always their call. If they want an altitude, they get it, and we'll work around them. Control room, this is Chopper. We're back on your radio. Okay. Okay. Well, here's a look at where it all ended. This is on Reisterstown Road. The fire truck is actually parked on Reisterstown Road at the intersection of Gwynns Falls. And the car, the suspect car, is at the top of your screen. You can see the rear bumper that is off there. Both suspects from this vehicle were arrested on the scene here. The crime scene tape is up. It looks like a pretty big crime scene, and there are a lot of people standing around looking at this. And there's a lot of cop cars still here, a lot of police officers still on the scene, and they're doing something with that van that is parked on the right side of your screen down by the ambulance. We're thinking that maybe police officers got some injuries and they're going to take care of that. I do not believe that's the suspect that they're getting ready to transport, but we're going to keep an eye on this. But this is where it all came to end after about a 20 to 25 minute pursuit through West Baltimore. Reporting live from Chopper 13, I'm Captain Jeff Long. Back to you. You're welcome.
Because we're gonna, somebody can hold the middle, because we're all, anybody else? Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Two of you guys holding with something? Hello? Hello? You got anybody else? Okay. All right. Yeah, no, but you are. Myself and the commissioner are talking. You guys all ready? Am I blocking everybody, bro? Okay?
Not now.
There, is that better?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Here we go. Hold on. Down, knees. Hold this mic the whole time. Just
kneeling down, and he just kept talking and kept talking. I'm like, stop it, whatever. So, didn't think I'd ever have another day like that again. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. And the other way.
I'm not holding up.
Yeah, I got it. You ready? All right. Thank you all for your patience, given the weather. I appreciate it. Obviously, we have a very active crime scene that spanned a great deal of the Western District. Chief Smith is going to go over the timeline of events. I'll only say this: that we had an active shooter today on a shooting spree, and he was apprehended. The firearms that Chief Smith will describe to you, a handgun and a assault-style rifle, were both recovered as well. This really depicts what police officers are faced with, and we could be standing here describing today a police officer shot or worse. Citizens were shot today. One person responsible for this shooting spree. He's also suspected of being involved in a triple shooting last night that resulted in one death in Poplar Grove and a non-fatal shooting that occurred last week on Edmondson. So a Western District Patrol officer with about 3 years of experience was in possession of a Be on the Lookout document, a BOLO, that depicted a car that detectives want in these two incidents, one last night and one last week. And he was doing his job. He was alert, and he went after this vehicle. And thankfully, this could have been much, much worse. And I want to commend our aviation section. Our Foxtrot was on top of this, and they did a tremendous job. And I know some of your news organizations had helicopters up as well, and that greatly assisted us as well. So I'll turn it over to Chief Smith. He'll go through the timeline, and then we'll take questions.
All right. Going through a bit of a recap. So the officers saw the vehicle from the Western District Bolo, a recent shooting. At that point in the area of Fulton and Mosier, after the vehicle was pulled over at the area of Ricestown and Fulton, the occupant of that vehicle took off. When officers first encountered him, he was compliant and they were able to approach the vehicle, but then the occupant took off, but he also fired at the officers. Officers returned fire in the area of Fulton and Mosier. It doesn't appear that they struck the suspect or anyone else at that point. At that stage, the officers initiated a pursuit, of course, and our Foxtrot helicopter was overhead within minutes of this to pursue it from the air. During this incident, and we're still working on the exact timeline as far as which incident occurred first in the sequential order, we know in the 3100 block of West North Avenue, there was a non-fatal shooting where an adult male was shot in the leg. This was occurring while this suspect was being pursued by police officers. We have another incident where two victims were shot at in the 4400 block of Park Heights Avenue. That's where two adult males were shot at. They were not struck by gunfire, but they were shot at. Again, this occurred while officers were pursuing this suspect. Then in the area of Wabash and Rogers, a person was struck in the upper body, and that person is in very critical condition with life-threatening injuries. He was inside of a vehicle, and the person, and that's an adult male as well, and the person in the vehicle with him went into cardiac arrest. That person was not shot, but that person went into cardiac arrest. Don't have an update on that person's condition at this point. When officers were able to stop this vehicle, which the commissioner just mentioned, many of you had on aerial yourselves, officers got the suspect out of the vehicle without further incident, and we recovered two weapons, or will be recovering two weapons from the vehicle. One officer got a significant injury to his leg. He's being treated at the hospital right now. And as the commissioner mentioned, we believe this incident, this suspect is connected to a triple shooting last night that left one person deceased and a non-fatal shooting that occurred on Edmondson Avenue about a week ago. The suspect is a 30-year-old male from Baltimore, and at this point, we're still investigating his background, the motive, and right now this does appear to be a completely random incident. This doesn't appear to be someone who was targeting these individuals. Again, he did this while police were pursuing him, and we are really, really, really fortunate that this wasn't worse, especially with the early dismissal that occurred today. So all of this actually appeared to have been wrapped up and concluded before schools dismissed for the early dismissal because of the snow.
So just to be clear, our shooter is shooting at these civilian victims from his fleeing vehicle. He's being chased by the police, and he's firing and striking these civilians as he's being chased by the police. He struck 2 civilians non-fatally, and he missed 2 others that he shot at, and he shot at a police officer. So today, all in all, he shot at 5 people, to include a police officer. He struck 2 out of the 5, and he shot 3 last night and 1 a week ago.
And here's some pictures of the weapons that we are going to be recovering out of his vehicle. This is a handgun that was recovered. This is some sort of rifle that is being recovered from his vehicle. We'll make sure we get these pictures out to all of you guys. And we believe these are the weapons that were used to fire at the civilians and the officers.
Barry?
Commissioner, first, was anyone else in the car with him? And what do you think about somebody going around and doing this, and especially as officers are chasing?
It's absolutely insane, absolutely crazy. You guys saw it from the air. What possessed this guy to do this, I have no idea. But obviously, he's someone we want off the streets. Very, very dangerous for citizens. Very dangerous for police officers. He jeopardized an entire city today due to his intentional recklessness with 2 guns. So it's absolutely unacceptable.
And to give you an indication, it appears the first incident where the officer encountered him occurred in the Southwest District, the Western District, Northwest District. So we have at least 3 districts, and in the Central District, not far away from here, that were involved in this, all on basically the western portion of the city.
So in total, how many shooting incidents versus how many people were shot and how many people were injured?
So today there were 2 people shot and injured. There was a police officer shot at and missed, and there were 2 other civilians shot at and missed. So 3 shot at and missed, and 2 shot at and struck. Now we don't know right now, and we have detectives at all of the hospitals throughout the city to make sure that while he was shooting from his moving vehicle, hopefully no one else was struck by his errant, reckless gunfire, but that's something that we're following up on right now.
And we have destruction of properties that we are still investigating, and vehicle accidents in reference to this that we're still investigating.
And sir, we all heard this on the scanner, blow by blow. There was the police response to this. Can you explain kind of how that works? Because some people are going to think that maybe that he should have been taken out earlier if he was shooting from a car, or how do you address that?
Right.
Brian,
I'm well aware of the people who think they know how to do our job. But textbook policing today, these police officers acted with a great degree of bravery and courage. The pursuit obviously was 1,000% legitimate, adheres to all of our policies and procedures. One of the main reasons we have an aviation section is so it can get on top of bad guys like this. And you all saw the officers back off a bit during the pursuit. You probably heard that or saw it. So they did a great job. So these are cops in their 20s and in their 30s, and they're chasing a guy who's already shot at a cop and chasing a guy who's already shot at and struck citizens. But here we are still chasing them because that's what we do. That's what we signed up for, and the police officers did an excellent job doing it.
Was there any thought of calling off the chase as well? Because at times you could see where it became extremely dangerous, where other cars were pulling in because they may not have seen the police cars, may not have heard the sirens.
So, Barry, supervisors, sergeants and lieutenants are tasked with evaluating the necessity of a chase, given all the circumstances that you described, and they made a right decision, to allow this pursuit to continue. God knows if we would have let this guy go, just imagine the damage and the destruction of life that would have ensued. But some points during this pursuit, the speeds were slower than at other times. This guy's obviously got significant issues. I have no idea what they are right now, but I'm just glad he's in a pair of handcuffs.
And Barry, to the commissioner's point, we're lucky we got him today, as we just found out, through this investigation, and luckily our intelligence folks are able to get it to us really quickly,
that this same person and vehicle were involved in a non-fatal shooting last week and then one last night. So we don't get him today. We don't know what else he could be capable of. Not just today, but just the future. So we'll be investigating backwards beyond just last week in Edmondson Avenue.
So a repeat violent offender off the streets this afternoon.
So we got to dig into his criminal history. I don't think we're prepared to describe, either identify him yet or describe his criminal history, but we'll do that as soon as we possibly can.
Let's do it. Some people were saying that he actually jumped out in front of this suspect's car, appearing to, trying to stop him. Can you speak at all to that?
Yeah, Joy, I saw some of the footage from one of y'all's helicopters, and I don't know which, I don't know what the officer who was injured was doing at the time of his injury. I jumped on an ambulance with him real quick, and he's in severe pain. I think he's got a significant leg injury, but I don't know right now exactly how that happened.
But he was certainly trying to get the bag out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He was
trying to get the bag out.
Brave cop doing his job for the citizens.
I guess what I'm wondering is, because of the location where he was put into the ambulance, do you think that his action kind of helped to steer the suspect in this direction and bring him
as soon as we know that sequence of events, we'll share it. But we don't know that sequence of events. I think all the cops that were, pursuing this guy today and doing their best are to be commended. But I don't know the exact sequence of events.
One of the things also watching, there were times when it seemed like the chase just kind of looped around and looped around. You would think, I don't know, it just seemed kind of strange in terms of somebody who's trying to get away from police would not keep coming back around the same area.
Well, Barry, I learned a long time ago that I cannot explain human behavior. I don't know what was going through this guy's mind. I don't know if he's just a reckless criminal, hell-bent on harming other people. I don't know if he's mentally ill. I don't know if he's both. So we are certainly as interested in you guys as you guys are in learning more about him. Why did he do this?
And also the weapons.
Yeah, I'll venture to say this. I'll go out on a limb and say that he undoubtedly was not in legal possession of either the handgun or the assault-style rifle.
Ballpark figure, how long did this case last?
25, 20?
Yeah,
20,
somewhere
30.
It was 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, it was a long pursuit. I mean, it went through, again, from west Baltimore to southwest Baltimore and then to West Baltimore. So it was a long pursuit, given the circumstances. And then you're adding into that, not just the pursuit. You don't see this every day. I mean, this is once in a generation stuff, thankfully, where somebody's actively shooting randomly out of their vehicle during a pursuit. So it was too long, but luckily the bad guy's in custody.
So the car started falling apart. There's got a bare rim over there. Like, how does that car get to that at that point?
Yeah, so his bumper's hanging off and flapping in the wind, and he ran the tires right off the rims, and the car still goes, and if there's a will, there's a way, and he certainly was determined to flee from the police, and I'm glad we got him.
Any estimate about how many shots were fired?
No, not yet. Okay. We don't know.
Dozens?
We don't know.
Okay.
I mean, again, 5 different situations where he shot at people and struck people, so we don't know how many rounds were fired. But it's a rifle. Looks like it has an extended magazine on the rifle, so that's something we'll be following up on.
And again, there was no one else in the car with him.
No one else in the car with the bad guy. All right. We'll try to provide an update as we get it. Do you have something?
Yes, I was just curious. Do you have a name of the suspect? And
We're
is this his car?
Well, we're in the process of charging. That's early in the investigation, so we'll get a name out, a picture of the suspect once we get finished charging. This is going to be an extended process. As you know, we have we have crime scenes throughout the city right now, and our people are out investigating those.
So how many different crime scenes, or don't you know?
Well,
we have the scene of the traffic stop, and then you have 3 other scenes where people were either shot at or shot, and then you have this scene. So we're talking half a dozen
at
scenes.
least a half dozen. So. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Barry, for being a team player.
Who's this one?
Appreciate it. That was Jay-Z I gave you last.